Welcome to Gotta Run. This is Will Sanchez. Thank you for tuning in. My very special guest today is Dorothy Carlow. In 2017, as a representative of Manhattan, Dorothy did the New York City Marathon as part of the Foot Locker 5-Borough Challenge. We're going to learn all about that challenge and much more from Dorothy. I'm thrilled to have Dorothy as a guest. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. It's nice to finally meet you. I've watched a lot of your shows.
Oh, excellent. A fan is always welcomed.
Very much a fan.
Okay. I was reading your bio as I prepared for today, and I was very excited to see that you used to work for Fairway. And the reason I got excited because last year I had the honor of doing a production at Roadrunners where we met some really fantastic high schoolers that were part of the Run for the Future program. And before the show started, I got a chance to talk to them. And one of the things they mentioned was, I guess maybe earlier that week, Fairway came in and did a presentation on shopping and food choices. And they're very, very excited, particularly when they were given, I think, a gift card to go to Fairway.
Fairway is a huge supporter of the Team for Kids programming and New York Roadrunners, which helps kids around the country, not just in New York City, but all over the country, to sort of experience the joy of running and appreciate the sport and get better at the sport. And it promotes physical fitness and physical activity in elementary, middle, and high schools, which is amazing because a lot of programming has been cut from public school systems.
That's right. That's right. Roadrunners filled a niche. And I'm very happy about the brand because my wife and I adore Fairway.
Oh,
it's like no other market in the world.
It is like no other market, and working there was like no other job.
So you were there for 3.5 years. What was your position?
I was the chief merchandising officer, so responsible for all the purchasing, product on the shelf that you saw, all the marketing in the company, and the supply chain.
Wow, that sounds exciting.
It was a huge honor to be part of such an iconic brand. It's been around, I think, since 1933. It started as a fruit and vegetable stand on Broadway. It's much like the New York City Marathon and New York Roadrunners. It started as a small little race in Central Park, and then it grew into something that was bigger than anything anyone could ever imagine. And that's the greatness of New York.
It's a tough market because competition is fierce. Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, and now that Amazon bought Whole Foods, my gosh. So what do you see? I know she's a former job, but what do you see as the future of grocery stores in New York?
The one great thing about being in the food industry is that people are always going to need to eat well, always. And while there are a lot of competitors that have come in to the market, not just in New York, but all over the country, people still go to where their parents and grandparents went. And I think that food is the great universal connector. And there's so many traditions that are related to food. If you can tap into the emotional connection that people have with it, the great brands will always outpace I call them the imposters. So I'm obviously a huge fan of Fairway, and just being part of that company was amazing.
Oh, well, I guess one way is to work with New York Roadrunners and get the next generation to know about Fairway.
So Fairway has a foundation, and the foundation is a very big supporter of not just the New York Roadrunners, but New York City public schools in general. And one of the things that we wanted to do was promote physical activity and wellness as part of our foundation. And that's how we got connected with New York Roadrunners. The Run for the Future program was something that I held near and dear to my heart. It was high school students from female high school students from all over New York City who had never done anything physically active, just were completely inactive. They applied as rising seniors to the program, and New York Roadrunners selected them based on their grades and then their commitment to participating. And I think a 12-week training program to get ready for a 5K. And not only did they do the physical aspects of running and learning how to run 3 miles, but they also did a lot of life training, like what you need for college and how to grocery shop and how to stay healthy and what to wear and all these amazing things.
That is so cool.
I was part of mentoring one of the girls, and I was a running buddy in the 5K. And the best race that I ever ran was not the New York City Marathon. It was crossing the finish with my running buddy and helping her get her goal time. It was the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And so helping other people on their running journey is way more important than what you do yourself. That's how I look at it, and that's how I've always viewed it.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Sounds like Fairway will continue to support those programs, those after-school activities, as you said, are being slashed because of budget cuts.
But it's not just about money, it's also about time, and the more people that can donate their time and inspire other people to get involved in running and health and wellness, and it just promotes confidence and a sense of well-being and happiness. Have you ever met an unhappy runner? I don't know, but maybe when they don't get the time they want. But just donating your time and being there for these kids who have never done something like this before, or other friends. Get your friends running.
Okay, cool.
I'm on a mission to get people running.
It's cool. Yes, it's a good mission. Well, let's go back to the beginning,
Sure.
Dorothy. Tell us where you were born and something about your growing up years.
I was born in Pittsburgh, PA. I lived there until I was 5, and my parents got divorced. My mom moved to Boston at that point, and so I split my time between Boston and Pittsburgh. I have run races in Boston. I ran the Boston Marathon last year as a charity runner, and I ran the Pittsburgh half marathon the same year. And so I called those races my in-betweeners, because growing up, I never really felt like I lived in one place. I was always back and forth between those two areas. So it was kind of symbolic to run those two races in the same year.
Okay. But did something happen when you were 15, 16, 17?
When I was 15 years old, my dad was indicted for a $32 million check kiting scheme, all within one bank. And to give you sort of a history of my family, we grew up very, very, very wealthy. And it was a complete tale of two cities, from going from flying around on private jets to not knowing how we were going to pay for groceries the next day. That's exactly what happened. And one of the things that I try and educate people on when white collar crime happens is that it's not, the family has no idea usually that all of this stuff is happening with someone who they love, who they only know as their provider and their father. And the community shuns you because they think that you and your family have done something wrong. We didn't do anything wrong. And so we went from having everything to, when I was 15 years old, having nothing. And it's a very traumatic experience. And then when the community shuns you and looks at you as kind of a pariah because it was a very public humiliation, there's nobody there for you. And I think that we always have to remember that it's not the kids' fault when this happens.
Yeah, they're part of the tragedy. They're victims as well.
They're victims as well, and helping them get through that and reaching out to them and saying, you know, you are not your father. There is life after this. You are your own person, and you can do anything you want in this world.
Okay, so you were 17, probably in high school at that point?
When it happened, I was a sophomore in high school. When I was a junior in high school, I knew my dad didn't have that much time left. I knew he was going to jail at some point. And so I moved to Pittsburgh to live with him and help him and sort of get his affairs in order, sell some of his properties with him. Became an adult very quickly.
You grew up fast.
I did. I grew up very fast. And I would never take any of it back. I would never take it back because it let me be who I was, and I didn't have to live within someone's shadow anymore, even though it was incredibly painful. The most painful thing I've ever had to do in my life was to go visit my dad in prison the first time.
Which prison did he go to?
He went to a white-collar prison. The first one he was in was Morgantown in West Virginia, and then he was moved around a lot as he went through the system. He was in prison for 8 years.
Oh my gosh, so he's been out for a while.
So he got out when I was 24, so he's been out for almost 16 years.
Okay. And how's he doing now?
He spends a lot of time with his grandkids, a lot of time. He's a great grandfather. He's an amazing dad. And I think that he is very much enjoying his freedom.
Okay, cool. So he feels he paid his debt to society and contributing in other ways, positive ways, being a family man, being a grandfather, supporting you in your work.
I don't know if you can ever pay your debt to society when you do ruin so many people's lives. I mean, it just didn't affect his life. It affected a lot of people that worked for him, thousands and thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
I know that he regrets what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And he took full responsibility for it. There were a lot of people involved in it that didn't. So.
Okay. Oh my gosh. In high school, you needed to decide to go to college. How did you make that decision?
I feel like I'm incredibly lucky that I had two very, very supportive parents who were very much into education, and that was the only thing that mattered for me and my brothers and sisters. If I brought home a B on a test, my mom would freak out. So even in college, and I was just a very good student, and my mom had been smart enough to create an education trust fund for us. So that was the only thing that was paid for, was the education part. So we had to pay all of our own living expenses. All of my brothers and sisters graduated from high school and graduate school.
Okay. And which graduate school did you go to?
American University. So.
Oh, cool. And what was your major?
Theology. Totally different than what you would think.
Theology.
Religion.
Why theology?
It was right after 9/11 happened, and I was living in Washington, D.C. I was a teacher at that point. I taught school for 2 years, and a lot of people in Washington, D.C., just like New York City, were affected by what happened. And I felt this very deep desire to understand why there could be such hatred over religious point of views and understanding the history of religion.
Okay, so after college, after graduate school, you probably wanted to work. What was your thinking about a career?
I worked all through college. I had one full-time job and two part-time jobs in college.
Oh my gosh.
So, one of my full-time job was in food and beverage. I worked at a restaurant full-time and did everything at the restaurant, from washing dishes to being the general manager. So I knew I wanted to be in hospitality and food and beverage, but there were no jobs. I graduated in 2001, and there were just no jobs available. So I went into teaching, and I taught for 2 years. I couldn't make a living teaching.
Teaching, I guess, general stuff? Or teaching religion?
No, teaching physical education and health education.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Mm-hmm.
Because you were still very fit and active?
I think the reason I gravitate so much towards physical fitness and being physically active is that I'm a true believer that exercise can change your life for the better. No matter what type of exercise you do, whether you run, swim, bike, lift weights, I am a believer that you can change your mindset, you can grow your confidence, and you can have any life you want through being physically active. It saved me.
Okay.
So that's why I did that, and I wanted to inspire other people to have that same feeling.
I think you've done multiple marathons. What was the first marathon that you did?
The first marathon I ever did was the New York City Marathon. I got in through their lottery. My husband signed me up. I felt an enormous amount of gratitude after completing my first marathon. Gratitude to my family, gratitude to my daughters who inspire me every single day to get out of bed and be better for them. Gratitude to my husband, thankful that I'm able to participate in this wonderful sport and that it has helped me so much in my life in so many different ways. I'd always been running, but never to that extent. And he said, I know you've always dreamed of doing the New York City Marathon. And when I was a young girl, I came to New York City a lot with my father. And the story of this is that we were on Central Park South watching the runners come in for that last mile. And I turned to my father, and I must have been like 6 or 7 years old. And I said, I'm going to do that someday. We had just come here on a trip. And I looked at him, and I'll never forget, he said, you're going to run 26 miles? And I don't even know if he knew the distance, but he was like, you can't do that. And at that point in time, I made the decision that I was going to run the New York City Marathon.
What made an impression on you when your dad was so adamant?
I've never seen anything like, watching people come down Central Park South and knowing they see the Columbus statue, like the statue of Christopher Columbus, and knowing that they only have maybe a half mile left.
To tap it on the green, yeah.
And it's one of the most emotional experiences that you can have as an athlete. It's unbelievable.
And you knew that when you were only 10, you said?
No, I knew that now. Like the first year that we lived here, I watched and I said, I have to do this marathon.
Okay.
And then the second year that we lived here, both my husband and I did it. My husband ran for a charity and I got in through their lottery.
Getting into the lottery is like the chances like slim and none. Were you living in New York at the time, or were you outside of New York?
I was living in New York, and I believe that it was fate to bring me into the New York Roadrunner family, and it's been a great community for me, and that's how Fairway got involved. And a lot of people that I know do volunteer their time to help with their children's programs.
Okay. Well, here you've done your first, and then at some point you got into the Foot Locker Challenge. That was in 2017.
I did the Foot Locker 5-borough in 2017.
That's an interview process. You have to apply and they interview you. So what was the process like for you?
I saw the Foot Locker 5-borough challenge in 2016, and I said, I want to do that. And this is going to sound crazy, Will, a little bit, but I have to be honest. I saw that they had the applications opened in, I think, April of 2017 for the 2017 New York City Marathon. And you have to have an entry, so you already have to have an entry. They don't provide the entry for you. And you have to be willing to share your story, whatever struggle it is that running helped you overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And I was completely willing to share my story about what happened with my family, because I think that there's a lot of people that are suffering silent that have family members that are incarcerated. And I wanted to educate the public that we should raise up and wrap our arms around these children who have parents that are incarcerated because it's not their fault.
Right.
And we want them to know that if they educate themselves and they work hard in school, that they can do anything they want in this world. And that was sort of what I wanted the people of New York to know, but also the people that watch the video. I run to get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Very catchy.
That's why I run, I think, for the most part. There's so many situations in life that are uncomfortable, and I think that God puts them before us to test us. And sort of just taking a breath and saying, it's okay to be uncomfortable. Because when you're at 24, you're pretty, you know this, you've run 18 marathons. You're
good memory.
You're pretty uncomfortable at that point, and just saying, like, taking a breath and taking a moment and pausing and saying, it's okay. It's okay to be uncomfortable, because right around the corner, like, glory is coming when you cross that finish line or when you overcome that challenge. And I think that there's no other sport that teaches you as well as running that specific coping mechanism.
Like it was a sport. So a little bit like Fairway, like no other market. And your dad was there at the finish line to high five you and support you.
So my dad ran the 5K the day before with me, which I was really proud of him because he has really bad knees. He's also had 3 knee surgeries, and he trained for it for 3 months leading up. And I'll never forget this. It's a special moment in my life. We were running into Central Park, and he said, Dorothy, I feel like I'm dying. And a lady shouted back to him from somewhere up ahead, no, that's what living feels like. And I started to cry because I was like, she's so right. And I turned to him and I said, remember all the moments in your life where you wanted, like, you just felt like you were dying. I said, keep going. We're almost to the finish line. And he looked at me and he smiled and he says, I get it.
Oh, wow. Great story.
And it was just an incredible moment. And then he said to me when I finished the marathon, he goes, I ran 3 miles and I'm sore. I don't know what you're going to be like tomorrow. It was very funny.
Oh, very, very cool. Now, the deal with the Foot Locker is you start off the race with 4 other people that started out as strangers. The 5 of you probably didn't know each other, representing each borough. You're committed to run together the first half of the marathon.
The people at Foot Locker and the New York Road Runners, I have to say, they make you feel like it's the most special thing you'll ever get to do. So you start about a half an hour before the professional women, right after the hand cycles go. And you commit when you get selected that you run the first 13.1 with your teammates that are in the Foot Locker 5-borough challenge that were selected by Foot Locker. And then it's like Hunger Games style where you like are against each other. But my teammates, the two women that were also chosen, Katie from the Bronx and Shri from Staten Island, we ran many, many, many miles together leading up to the marathon. We probably logged over 50 or 60 miles together leading in, and they are lifelong friends of mine. And I am so fortunate that I got to have them on my team because we shared so many stories and so many experiences and pain and joy together, and we still run together now.
Excellent, excellent. So you started out as strangers, but wound up as friends.
That's what running does. I think that there's a lot of people that feel alone or lonely in New York, even though we're surrounded by people everywhere. Running brings people together, and you're able to talk and run and share and sort of counsel each other. And that's the specialness of the sport.
It is, it is. What are some of your future challenges after a special event like the Foot Locker Challenge?
After the Foot Locker Challenge, Katie and Shri, who are my teammates, we made a pact that we were going to go down and do the Philadelphia Marathon together 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So we traveled down to Philadelphia and we ran that one together. And my friend Katie, she qualified for Boston.
Really? In Philadelphia?
So proud of her.
Fabulous after doing New York. But that's the beauty of doing that first 13.1 at the lowest common denominator, because it's just below your threshold. And all of a sudden, you got that extra power that you never realized you had.
She was amazing. She almost beat the guy from Brooklyn, we called him. She almost beat him. She was 30 seconds behind him. It was an amazing. I know that the Shalene Flanagan finish was pretty unbelievable, but I would say that her running, I think, 10 minutes faster than her half marathon PR for the last half of the New York City Marathon was a pretty amazing feat as well.
Wow.
So I was really proud of her.
Wow. And then she brought it home in Philadelphia by Boston qualified. Now she's helping me train for London, so that hopefully I'll qualify there for Boston. Oh, London's what, in April? What is that? London's in April. Cool. Well, London's hard to get in. Are you running it for charity? I'm running for Team for Kids, of course. Oh, great. So you're fundraising for them. I fundraised for it, yes. That's another great organization that Fairway supports. We talked about Fairway that you left after 3.5 years, but I think, if I remember correctly, you're into a really exciting field. I told my wife about it, and she got very excited about it because she travels a lot. And she says the airline food on the airplane is pretty bad, but on the terminals. So I think your company will going to do something about that to improve the dining experience. The dining and the retail experience in airports across the country. I would say that the company that I'm working for now, it's called OTG, has the best restaurants, not just in airports, but in the country. They're doing amazing innovation in terms of hospitality in restaurants, and I hope to bring those same things to the retail stores that we're operating. Oh, cool. And I'm really excited. You've only been there, what, a couple of months? I just started, so I left Fairway February 2nd, and I started with OTG on February 5th. 3 days. I mean, that'll give you much time. The weekend. I took the weekend off. Well, you are very ambitious. Not even a week or two that most people would take just to, recoup a little bit. I owe it to my kids and my dad, and to show them that hard work pays off, and if you work hard and you work smart, and you keep your head down and you always do what's right, good things will come. Oh, that's a good philosophy. But I was reading, I didn't know that the London terminal is considered, I forget which number, is considered one of the best in terms of the experience of getting on the plane, for lack of a better term. I mean, I'm not in that business. So besides, are you guys in London as well? Is that
We aren't, but I'm going to go check it out when I'm over there in April. If you say so, I don't know.
Well, again, I was doing a little research on it, and I think it came up a little slide of some video I was watching. London, Tokyo, and Singapore as the best places for passenger experience. There's one thing, you got to spend a lot of time in the airport. So if you can get good food or take out good food.
And enjoy yourself and have it be a stress-free environment.
Oh, right.
That's
well,
what we're aiming for.
Sounds like you're hitting the ground running on that one. Excellent. Well, in closing, is there any final thoughts that you want to share with us?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It was really nice meeting you and your crew. You guys are so nice. So I appreciate that. If you're going to run a marathon, you should run the New York City Marathon as your one and only. It is truly the greatest marathon in the world. The New York road runners just do everything first class. And the city of New York, although I've only lived here for 3.5 years, it is my honor that I get to live in such an amazing place with amazing people that come out in droves to support the professional runners all the way down to the runner that takes 7 or 8 hours to finish. And it will change your life to cross that finish line.
President of Roadrunners, Peter.
Gotcha.
People come back to the finish line because they know that there's going to be these inspiring stories at the end, and they just want to celebrate with those runners. It inspires people to think, if this person can do it, I can do it.
Gotcha.
He's there at the end with the last runner to come in.
So Michael and Peter are both there until the very last runner crosses the finish line. And this year, or last year, 2017, they invited the professional athletes back to cheer the runners on. It was 10 o'clock at night. And I think that one of the things that we should all remember in the runner community is that it doesn't matter how long it takes you to finish. It matters that you cross that finish line.
All right. On that note, cross the finish line. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Pleasure.